Morning, good morning, good morning. Well, let me say good afternoon and welcome back to the channel, Life with Patrick 1966. Today we are going to be describing and learning about power takeoff units. It's what they're normally called PTOs because they hook to your transmission and they can either be one or two types. The types can be mechanical or they can be hydraulic, but both of them use a gear-driven apparatus in order to get the job done. And let me explain those to you. Let's dive into it, shall we? Let's get at it. If you know anything, and I know all of you do, all of my subscribers and everything, new and current, you know that hydraulic fluid creates pressure and temperature. So on a hydraulic PTO system, let me show you what goes on with it and what comes with it. This is what is called a hydraulic cooler. They are several types of them. Kind of works the way like a refrigeration unit works, as far as the taking a low volume, low pressure suction and a very extreme high pressure discharge in order to make it work. And here we are. This right here is what is called the cooler. It's the hydraulic cooler. And this is the cooler. This is the cooler tank. But this apparatus here is what would be like the radiator or the condenser. As you can see, the fluid comes from the tank to this hydraulic cooler. And from the hydraulic cooler, it comes out and goes outward, which would be under pressure going to the device that you are turning, which would be like a pump, a compressor, or something like that. This is the suction side of it here. So this line here would go to this hydraulic pump, which is the suction side. And then this line right here would go out to the whatever's driving the pump. This line here would go out to whatever driving the pump. This would be the discharge line. So it will push the motor that's driving the pump, and then the excess from coming from the pump would go back to the cooler, to this line right here. Once it gets to a certain pressure or a certain temperature, which is predetermined by the valve that goes in here, this fan right here will come on when it reach a predetermined amount of pressure or temperature in the tank. Now, let's move on to the mechanical one. On the mechanical system, it's very simple, and it's been tried and true for years. It has a mechanical PTO. This here bolts to the side of the transmission, either the side of the bottom of the transmission, and it has a as you can see, it has a shaft on it. This drive shaft here that you see here on the truck, it will hook to that PTO. We'll hook to the PTO. And then this end here will hook to the PTO. This end right here would go to the front of the pump. And that's what would drive the pump. And these are the necessary mounting brackets in order to mount it. That's all it is. Now, depending on what your application is, depending on your application and the space you have and stuff like that, you can decide if you want a mechanical one, you want a hydraulic one. The downsides to both of them is that both of them can fail. You can have a hose to bust on the hydraulic one, which will render it useless because nothing you can do. You can also have a universal joint to go out on the mechanical one, rendering it useless as well. So both of them require service in order to work. The advantage of the hydraulic one, the advantage of this one here, the hydraulic one, on a newer truck that you have the catalyst converter on it, or they call it the one box, you can mount this thing virtually anywhere. You can mount it on the, you can mount it at the back of the truck, you can mount it on either side of the truck, run the hoses to it. So it's very advantageous to run the hydraulic one. On the mechanical one, which takes the drive shaft, it runs mostly down the center of the truck or the side of the transmission. There's only two places it can go: the very center of the transmission, or it can go on the side of the transmission. And depending on what you have in the way of each one of them, depending on what you have in the way of each one of them, then that becomes your issue. But if you don't have anything in the way of you, then you could put this one there. And they've been, like I say, they've been used for years. I got one on my other Freightliner, but the newer truck, I'm trying to decide now if I'm going to use hydraulic or am I going to use mechanical. I can go either way. I can put this one under the transmission, run it to the pump with that PTO and be okay. I can go to hydraulic. I can put this on the side of the truck, run the hoses to it and everything to that pump there, and run that pump, and then have everything go off that pump and run this product pump here, and also a compressor. You can make it more of a compact thing, and you could put it more places. So it just is just basically up to you of which one you want to use. So just thought I would give you all a little quick tour of that, because I know a lot of people have trucks and they've been using the hydraulic one for years, like if they got a dump bed or they got a dump trailer or roll off or something like that. So both of these systems has been around for a long time, been improved upon daily. They improve them every year. They find another way to do them and stuff like that. So just thought that was something that you all like to know. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, share, comment, share the video with somebody that this may be informative to. And as always, you can get it done. Do your research, look around, do everything you need to do before you spend any money, so that it will be a one-time payment, a one-time process, and you can enjoy the fruits of your labor or someone else's labor, or however you decide to do it, for a long, long time. Thanks again. Stay tuned, watch the videos, go back on my history, and I guarantee you something that you will learn from each one of them. Thanks again.